So we're back with another episode of the Pillowcast. Things look a little different today, huh? Because I'm here sitting by myself for now. We did say that we're going to be doing new things this year, and one of the new things is bringing people into our homes and having these conversations with them. Today we are having a very special guest with us. He is one of Anthony's longest buddies, and he's going to be here. So I hope you guys enjoy their conversation. Your girl is going to take a nap. Deuces.
All right, we're here. We're back with another episode. Today is a little different. We have a special episode planned with a very close friend of mine, someone I've known for a very, very long time. None other than Michael Sunbury.
Hello.
Applause.
Come on, Pillowcast.
Yeah. But I'm excited. I think this is a long time overdue. So let's start with you kind of giving an introduction of who you are, life.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm Mike. Just Mike. We've known each other for. You've been pretty much around for every aspect of my life for the most part. I'm 31. I think I met you when I was like 8 or
Jesus,
7 or something like that.
A very long time.
Yeah. It's been a long road, but married, 2 kids, got a 8-year-old daughter, 4-year-old son. That's pretty much it. Going to Ignite, all that,
Ignite.
church, all that jazz.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I'm excited to be on, man. I love that you and Nicole had started this. So I'm excited, honored to be asked to kind of jump in on this and just chat, have a conversation.
Yeah. So just kind of to sum everything up, I met Mike, you said, when you were like 8, you said?
Yeah, I think I was like 8, yeah.
8 years old, I met Mike, and I remember, because there was one day specifically that I remember, I think we had gone out evangelizing.
Yep.
I think it was in Bloomfield, New Jersey or something like that.
Yes, sir.
And we were giving out tracts or something. This is
Something
how
like
old
that.
this is.
Yeah.
Tracts, bro. And I remember we were kind of like connecting and everything like that. You were asking me a bunch of questions and everything like that. I still was, I don't even know how old I was, but I thought I knew everything at that time, and life really hit. But and life taught me quite a few things since. But yeah, man, it's been real watching you evolve, because I've gotten to see you at a much younger age, and then also just transition into being a father and everything like that. What was that like? Like, what was your experience becoming? One, you were very active in church. You've always been involved in ministry of some sort. But then what was that like, just transitioning into becoming a father, obviously being married and everything like that? What was that experience for you?
Dude, that was really tough. Because, especially, so that happened, I think I got married 22.
Mm-hmm.
Had my daughter at 23.
Mm-hmm.
But, at the time we had Ignite. We had had Ignite Revolution, Ignite Church. And it was, as a single dude, no kids to worry about or anything. It was very easy for me to just drop whatever I was doing and go do what we needed to do. You know what I mean? You remember times we'd, be doing stuff, either sound setup or whatever. We'd like sleep over.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was a little bit of a transition because I still wanted to keep that same mentality. You know what I mean? Like it became a habit, I guess. And I was like, I'm still going to be on top of it and all this, even when I'm married, even when I'm doing this. And it really started to affect, my relationship a lot. And really it was my wife. My wife was like, listen, family is your first ministry. You may have, been with Ignite first.
Yeah.
Like that may have been where you started, before, starting my family and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, when you create a family, when you get married, when you have kids, this becomes your first ministry.
Yeah.
So getting out of the mentality of being able to just dip whenever I want, I mean? Understanding, I've got kids to take care of too now, it took a little bit of getting used to, but it's been great. And we had a retreat a couple years ago, and one of the pastors, he gave me a prophetic word. He was like, because you've taken care of my house for so long, I'm going to make sure your house is taken care of. So getting on the same page with my wife with all of that, like our family, as far as from a relationship and the dynamic between us,
Yeah.
it's very difficult. It's very difficult to balance your family and your home life and church life and
Yeah.
ministry and all of that. So I feel like we've been in a good place the last couple of years, especially.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if I don't know, like in my personal experience, I'm not sure that I've ever found the perfect balance, because there's always like tension there. So it's
Yeah.
just like, for me, it's always trying to figure out, all right, what is too much, what is not, um, what is um what is like me, like I guess trying to figure out like how much time can I invest in ministry without it becoming overburdening on my family, and then also being problematic within my relationship, and being a father. So I don't know if I've ever found that. I've for me, I know that I've always utilized like intentionality. So it's just like, and I didn't do this to start. I learned this way later in my life, but I've learned to use intentionality. So when I'm there, right? So it's not like I'm there, but then I'm off somewhere else. I'm physically present, but mentally not there, right?
Right.
So I try to be as present as I can. But I love the fact that you were able to do that. And is that something that it took you a long time to learn, or?
Um, I would say it took me, every time I figured it out, something new happened. So like I figured it out, trying to do the marriage, and even when Becky and I were dating,
Mhm.
trying to manage the dating,
Yeah.
and like I don't know if you remember, I used to like call in sick to like certain midweek services we had going
Yeah.
on just so I could go meet up,
Yeah.
hang out with her, go
Yeah.
to dinner. Pastor would be texting me, dude, what the heck is going on?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So, then I feel like once I figured out a way to balance that, Becky
Yeah.
got pregnant.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, now I got to figure out another way to balance this. And,
Yeah.
after a little while, you learn that. Then you got a second one coming. So,
Yeah.
like you said, I mean, I don't think that there's a way to perfect it,
Yeah.
but I do think that communication is extremely helpful. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Intentionality too.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, when you're with family, when it's family time, it's family time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nothing else. But communication, being able to understand from your family when too much is too much.
Mm-hmm.
I've served, not just at our home church, but with different ministries throughout the region and stuff like that as well. So there came a time where I started, where I needed to start taking some things off my plate too, where I knew I couldn't pull back at our home church, right? Like I still needed to be just as present there. But being present to the level that needed, being
Mm-hmm.
present to the level my family needed,
Mm-hmm.
and all the other ministries I was helping out, I was like, I just can't.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
being able to dial that back and everything like that. But communication was huge.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
my wife feels like things are getting out of hand,
Yeah.
she'll check me real quick.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So-
Yeah. She's got the Spanish side.
Right, exactly. That
That
Puerto
kicks
Rican
in.
comes out fast.
Yeah. 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 So your daughter is in, like, she does dancing.
Mm-hmm.
So what's that like, being a part of that whole
Dude,
shenanigans?
it is a whole nother world. So I told Becky, I was like, listen, I grew up playing sports. Becky grew up playing sports, and my dream was to be like that dad. That, like, if they're playing baseball, I've got the book on the side.
yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I
yeah.
mean? My uncle was very much like that with my cousins.
Yeah.
So I always wanted to be that dad.
Yeah.
My daughter chose dance, and I'm like, I don't really know how to, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
I don't know
yeah,
how to do
yeah,
it, but
yeah.
I'm gonna figure it out.
Yeah.
So I make sure I'm at all the competitions. It's interesting. It took me a little bit to kind of get used to the way that it is. It's not as cut and dry as like baseball or
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
basketball. You win or lose by who scores the most.
Yeah.
But the way that they go about scoring and all of that is
Yeah.
way different.
Yeah.
And I feel like I could get lost in a dance conversation and be totally fine.
Yeah.
But the studio that we found, dude, it's around the corner from our house. It's called Evolution Dance Center. Shameless plug.
There you go.
It's an incredible studio, man. The studio director there, her name is Miss Melissa. She is like, she runs that thing incredible, man.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
they don't just teach the girls how to dance, but they teach the girls discipline, working out too. These
Really?
Dude, when Addison was in rec, so she was in just the rec dancing for the first year. I would see they have like a screen sitting in the lobby that cycles through all the studios. The workouts that they were having, these like kids, and these kids are like 10,
Yeah,
11,
yeah,
12
yeah,
years old. I'm like, dude, at my peak fitness,
yeah.
I could not do any of
Yeah,
those
yeah,
workouts.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So they teach them discipline, they teach them hard work, they teach them respect.
Mm.
They've had, from last nationals last year, um, we've had 3 regional competitions this year. All 4 of those, we won Studio of Excellence awards, because our studio, the kids are well
Yeah,
behaved.
yeah,
They cheer on other people. They're not all about like, I'm better than you and all this kind of
yeah,
stuff. They're super respectful kids. Me and the one dad, we joke, they're like trained assassins, though, those girls,
yeah,
man.
yeah,
They're
yeah,
goofing off. You know, it's from ages like 5 or 6 up to 17, 18.
yeah,
These girls are all goofing off, doing their thing. But when it's time to go,
yeah.
dude, I've never seen my daughter so serious in my
That's
life.
hilarious.
But it's awesome, man. She loves it. She
So how
loves it.
many? How many? I guess I'll word it this way. How many passionate conversations or exchanges have you had with either other parents or other instructors at these events?
Just define passionate.
Like intense, like
um,
because I know for me, like for example, I don't know, the day me and Nicole have a child, I don't know what that child is going to get into, whether it's football, basketball, dancing, don't know what it's going to be like. So for me, I picture like if I'm at a basketball game and there's a foul called, the referee's going, trotting down the court, I might say a few things.
yeah, you try not to, right? Becky gets the brunt of all my stuff.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So Becky, listen, there aren't, not for nothing, there aren't a lot of dads that are involved at
Yeah.
all. It's really just the daughters and their moms. I'm like one of the only dads, and then one of the other dads on Addison's team as well. We're kind of always there. He
Yeah,
helps build all the sets and props that they use. So I don't really have anybody to like do that with. So I'm going off with Becky all the time. I'm like, what the heck was that? This is
yeah, yeah, yeah,
crap. Like, what did we just
yeah,
do?
yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah,
But no, I mean the reason why they win those types of studio of excellence awards and whatever is because the parents are pretty chill too. Like they just try and we all have, there's one mom at the studio. She makes incredible shirts,
yeah,
sweaters, hats, whatever. She'll put whatever you want on them. So I
yeah.
have one that is the Godfather logo, but it says
Okay,
the Dance Father,
that's cool. Yeah,
and then
yeah,
it
yeah.
says Addison on the back. I don't know. Everybody's wearing these types of colors and all this other kind of stuff, so everybody
Yeah.
knows what team you're a part of. So
Yeah,
you don't
yeah.
really want to ruin anything for the
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
studio,
yeah.
and it's pretty. It's this studio at least is not like Dance Moms. It's not like that show where it's all cutthroat and everybody
Okay.
is like crapping on each other
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
dog eat dog. It is
Yeah, yeah,
not
yeah.
that at all. This, at least the studio we're a part of, thankfully. It's a very family oriented one. They do a big sister, little sister thing.
Got it, got
So
it.
the older kids partner up with the younger kids. It's great.
Got it, got it, got it. Yeah, I was thinking because I was like, man, I don't know, because I don't know what that environment's like. So for me, I was like, man, I wonder if there was any I guess exchange with any parent or just a instructor or judge, whatever the case is. But that's cool that you haven't had that. So that's
No,
pretty-
I just throw all my complaints at my wife.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
just like, don't tell me if they're wrong or right complaints. Just let me complain. Okay?
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Let me
yeah.
feel like I'm doing that.
That's cool. So let me ask you this. We were talking about, your upbringing, and we were talking about, obviously you being part of church and just being part of ministry for as long as you've been part of it. Has there ever been a period in time where you questioned God or maybe doubted yourself or doubted his existence in any way?
Um, I don't think that there was much on the doubting of existence of God,
Mm-hmm.
but doubting myself, like, oh man, all the time.
Mm-hmm.
still to this day, I mean, it's something that you struggle with.
Yeah.
But I think that is, there's a big comparison thing that people have in general. And if you don't do it like other people, or even just other people that you look up to and whatever, you don't think that I guess you have it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially in worship especially, because music is a vulnerability, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's worship is vulnerable. So I don't know. Just a lot of the time, I didn't feel like I measured up as far as from a musician standpoint. I've never been the best musician that was around us. I've never been the best singer that was around us. Never been the best speaker that was around. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So you're constantly in this, which is good. You want to be surrounded by people that are better than you because
Yeah.
that builds you up. But that also, if you're not careful, you can kind of internalize these
Yep.
things of like, I'm not on their level and I'll
Yep.
never be on their level and things like that. So it's something that I still deal with. Even, I mean, worship leading, we've been doing it forever.
Mm-hmm.
And still I'm like, yeah, I don't think I'm that good at it. Like,
Yeah,
I don't,
yeah,
you know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
Other people do it better. I'm not
Yeah.
all that great. And
Yeah.
preaching, been doing it the last, 6 years or whatever. And still
Mm-hmm.
to this day, it's just like, yeah, I don't like when I do it
Yeah,
'cause
yeah,
I don't
yeah,
think
yeah.
it's good,
Yeah, yeah, and what's worship look like to you now in your, like, obviously in your 30s now, as opposed to what it looked like before in your 20s?
Um, I feel like my heart for worship changed. There was a deeper understanding of what actual worship was. Um, there was, at least, when I was in my 20s, you know, I, Hillsong was huge,
Yeah.
right? And Hillsong was like the cream of the crop,
Yeah.
man. They were
They were
global,
the
they were
celebrities.
everywhere, right? They were the celebrities.
Yeah,
They're hanging out with Justin Bieber and all
yeah,
these
yeah,
people,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So almost like worship was a fad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it was, I don't know. There was like a stardom to it.
Yeah.
So for me, that is what I limited worship to be. Worship was singing these songs, doing this, being on a platform, getting the attention, and then you have this. You try and cover it up with this sense of humility of like, God, I want you to increase my platform so I could share the gospel,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
deep down, I'm like, I
Yeah,
want
yeah.
you to increase my platform
Yeah.
so that I
Forget
can
the
get
second
paid
part.
for this, and I want,
Yeah.
right? You know what I mean? I want to get paid. I want to be in front of
Yeah, yeah,
50,000
yeah,
people.
yeah,
I want to
yeah,
sell
yeah,
out
yeah,
Madison
yeah,
Square
yeah,
Garden
yeah, yeah.
and all that.
Yeah.
But I think that a part of that also was you're looking for an answer for that imposter syndrome. You're looking for the validation of
Yeah.
you are actually good at
Yeah,
this.
yeah,
So here's your stadium.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But now, I mean, your relationship with the Lord, going through a lot of healing as
Mhm.
well. Because again, looking for that validation and all that is coming from a hurt place internally.
Yeah.
So going through all that healing really allowed me to kind of settle in and really see what worship was about, man. Like worship has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
Worship is all about the Lord.
Mhm.
It helped me sit and wait. It helped me be patient.
Yeah.
Not jump around, not look for the nearest bang, not look for the nearest jumping and screaming and
Yeah.
all of that kind of stuff. Worship can look like that.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to look like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And I think that sometimes we have this innate ability to take worship out of one box and put it in another.
Yeah.
So I think that is where worship has kind of developed and changed. It's still growing every day.
Mhm.
As my relationship with the Lord develops and changes, my view of worship and my understanding of worship is developing too.
Yeah, yeah. I know you touched on imposter syndrome. For me, like just last year, I believe, or the year before, I was going through a serious case of imposter syndrome where it wasn't so much that I guess it wasn't like insecurity in myself. For me it was more so I felt like I didn't deserve anything good that was going on in my life. So for me, I felt like an opportunity to lead, I didn't deserve that. An opportunity to serve, I didn't deserve that. There was even times where someone would hit me up randomly and be like, "Hey, I need advice when it comes to this," and I would literally tell them like, I don't know if I can give you this
Right,
advice,
right.
or I don't know if I'm the person that should be giving you this advice, right? Especially when it came down to anything relationally or being anything involved in church and everything. At that time, I just felt like I had nothing to give, although I did have. I just didn't think I did.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it took me a bit to get over it. I know, like me and Nicole would have like conversation all the time about it, and she was always trying to speak life into me and everything, and trying to we're trying to figure out the root of all this stuff. And it took me a while to get over it, but that was a serious thing, and I can relate in a lot of ways because I've been able to be you know serve with other people who are way better than I am, and I've always had um, that mindset where I was like, I don't know if I should be on this stage with this person, or I don't know if I should be serving alongside this person because they're just a million times better than I am,
Mm-hmm.
And it took me a while to get over that, where God was like, listen, I didn't call you to be them, I called you to be
Right,
you, right?
right.
So that was a unique experience for me. I know imposter syndrome was huge for me. And anyone going through that, like I can totally relate. And I guess the advice I'd give in that aspect is to really, really seek the face of the Lord. Even though that's a cliche thing to say, but it's true, right? As
Right.
cliche as it is, it's true. And also, seek counsel maybe, or just get around community, like-minded individuals who are going to speak life into you.
Right.
I know there was a period in time where you actually spoke life into me, where I was actually, during that period of time, that was like the peak, I guess, of my imposter syndrome. And pulled me to the side and you started speaking life into me, and that was something that I needed, and I can't thank you enough for that, because obviously you hear it from home, and sometimes I know for me, like I'll hear Nicole say something, and because she says something and she's speaking life, I'm like, oh, you're my wife, you're supposed to say that,
Right, right.
right? And it sometimes devalues what it is that she has to say because of who she is,
Right. There's
right?
that familiarity
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah,
it's
yeah,
like
yeah,
you're just saying it just so I'm not down on
yeah, yeah,
myself,
yeah, yeah,
not
yeah,
because you
yeah,
really
yeah, yeah,
believe
yeah,
it,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. So for me, when coming from you, and then from a lot of other people that just started gathering around and speaking life into me, it was very much rejuvenating for me. It was almost like a breath of fresh air. It was like, okay, this is the oxygen I needed.
Yeah.
Um, but what's something that you believe or you feel the church doesn't talk about enough?
I mean, there's a lot of topics, but I think one thing that doesn't get spoken about a lot at church is authority, like our authority.
Okay.
Um, Not necessarily our church. I feel like our church is like huge on that.
Yeah.
But at the Big C Church overall, I don't think that they talk enough about what our authority is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Being made in the image and likeness of Christ. As He is, so are we in this world. Like the same power that conquered the grave lives in us.
Yeah.
I don't think that gets talked about enough. I think it gets talked about in the way of, hey, if almost in an encouraging way,
Yeah.
but not in a you can live in this authority.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Like you can live and you can walk in this authority. I feel like it's spoken about more as a reactionary thing. Hey, you fell off the face of the earth. You stopped going to church. You stopped believing in God. Whatever. Just a reminder. When you come back, you still have that same power. He
Yeah. Yeah.
still loves you and all
Yeah.
that. And I'm like, that is needed and it's perfect. It's great. But I want to walk in that authority. You
Mm.
know what I mean? I don't want that authority to be something I just pull on when I need it. Like you can walk daily in that.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
what I mean? I don't know what about you? Because we've grown up in church.
Yeah.
So I think that there are different seasons for different themes and stuff like that. But there are some things that the church just really doesn't dive into.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I think it's more of the mental battles,
Yeah.
right? So it's actually something Pastor George, being under him, something that we've been learning a lot. He's also written a book on it. original settings. Shameless plug.
Oh, we just shameless plugging
Yeah.
away, baby.
But yeah, it's I think the mind and the battlefield of the mind is something that we don't discuss enough. I think we over spiritualize a lot, which I get. I
Yeah.
do understand the logic behind it. Because there's, I mean, we're not gonna completely absolve this journey of anything spiritual, right? We're not gonna say, hey, the spiritual side doesn't exist. But I also think that there's a practical side of everything along with spiritual, and I think there's like a happy medium there. And I think a lot of times we as believers, I think we're fearful of talking about the mind because I feel like the mind forces you to when you start getting into things of the mind and you start getting to trauma, you start getting into to hurt, resentment, and all this stuff. It forces you to have to go back into these little dark areas of your life, and I'm not sure that everyone's ready to do that.
Yeah.
Um, and I understand because I wasn't ready to do that, and it took me hella years to get to that point where I wanted to go and address certain things, right?
Right.
Or even admit that there was anything wrong with myself, right? So yeah, that's for me. For me, I think that's the thing that we don't talk about enough. I mean, in our church, obviously we do, but the church globally, big C church.
Yeah. Especially growing up, right? You grow up when you grow up in a religious um, cycle, I guess, or wherever you are, um, it's that like the mental battles and the thoughts and all of that it's like you said, it's all spiritual, right?
Yeah.
So everything's a demon,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah, 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 yeah.
So oh, you're sad, it's a demon.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
no, you
yeah.
got this,
Yeah.
it's a demon. You got a
Yeah.
hangnail, it's a demon.
Yeah.
Like you got a flat tire,
Yeah,
demon.
yeah, yeah.
So I do think obviously all of that is very real. Like the spiritual side of things and all of that kind of stuff is very real. But I do think that our thoughts and our mental life is what gives the foothold and the stronghold to that. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And it ties into the authority because you have the authority, right? Take every thought captive.
Yeah.
And this is language that we speak at the church all the time, but we have the ability to take every thought captive. So we have the authority to either give life to that thought or to put it to the wayside. So to take those thoughts, the negative and whatever you have going on, the thoughts of depression, the imposter syndrome stuff, the mental aspect of it and the authority aspect is what helps me get over that, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure you can say the same thing. Whatever you were dealing with, the positive words and all of that is super encouraging. But when you get down to the root and you're able to kind of pluck it and you have the authority to be like, no, this has no weight. It's gone. It doesn't line up with God's word. It's out of here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wonder. It's just a random question. Sometimes I ask myself when I see things, how many things we end up casting out that aren't demons at all, right? That are more so just bad practices or bad disciplines or bad thought patterns, whatever the case is. I wonder how many of those things we end up putting this Jesus glitter over, saying, "Oh well, no, we're just gonna cast it out in Jesus' name," and we end up going to these services and spiritual stuff and having things casted out, and then coming back and finding out that we're still struggling in the same area.
Yeah.
I wonder what life would look like, or the church overall would look like, if these things were addressed in a bigger picture.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think about what we teach at Matrix Matrix University, our school of ministry. Another shameless plug.
There you go.
Not sponsored.
Yeah.
But
Hashtag Matrix.
what we teach at Matrix, right, is not just it's not just a freedom where you come to get free.
Yeah.
It's something that you learn to walk in freedom.
Yeah.
Because I totally agree. I mean, Pastor George has said it before. Like we're delivering all these people and then sending them right back into everything and not teaching them how to lock their doors again.
Yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
It's like you leaving your door unlocked and somebody breaks in. All right, cool. You kick them out, but if you don't lock the door,
Yeah.
they're just gonna come back
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
in.
yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's just gonna be a cycle that
Yeah.
happens over and over again.
Yeah.
And I feel like because the church doesn't want to dive into the mental side of things or any of that, we've got people in this vicious cycle of they're getting freed and then their patterns aren't changing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The way that they live, the doors that they allow to be open, the windows that they've left unlocked, all of that. Intruder alert, man! Like
Yeah, 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 yeah.
it's getting right back in there, and then
Yeah.
you need to be freed from the same thing over and over. You're getting freed every Sunday.
Yeah.
When it's like you can come and get freed and stay free.
Yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I
yeah.
mean? You don't have to go back in bondage when you
Yeah,
get
yeah,
home.
yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah.
you can walk in freedom.
Yeah.
So I think that's just a real
Yeah.
real hit on anybody. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Not really learning that and not really catching that. I mean, it's tough, man. You got to be able to walk in freedom, not just
Yeah, yeah.
have a moment of freedom.
Yeah.
You know?
And I also feel like freedom is also progressive, right? So it's like the things that you need freedom from in this season might not be the things you need freedom from in the next,
Right.
right? So we're always just finding out new things. We're always learning. You know, God's always revealing, right? So we're also not saying that, oh, well, because you did the work and because you did the inner healing that you're completely free. No, there's still work to be done, right? The work doesn't end. This is the process of sanctification, right? Where we're constantly always trying to weed out the things that we should be weeding out of our lives, the things that are affecting us negatively, and just trying to be better people, better individuals, you know, on a daily basis.
As free as you get, the negative thoughts are never going to stop.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
nobody's going to stop trying to break in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You learn how to defend against it.
Yeah,
You know what
yeah.
I mean? So that's getting free, and all of that is great. It's phenomenal, and I highly recommend going through some type of freedom.
Yeah.
But until you learn how to walk in freedom and to live free, you're
Yeah.
going to constantly find yourself in bondage, going through this thing in a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
You know?
What does accountability look like to you?
I mean, tough conversations.
Got it.
Yeah, I mean, accountability is a tough one, man. Everybody likes the idea of accountability,
Yeah.
right? And then they don't like the practice of it when somebody finally calls them out on something
Yeah.
or whatever. But accountability is the tough conversations, man.
Yeah,
You have to build trust first of all. I don't think, and this is just me. I don't have any, thus saith the Lord to back this up. But I really don't think that it is my responsibility to hold everybody accountable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I don't have that relationship with everybody.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
need to have a particular type of relationship with somebody to truly be able to keep them accountable.
Yeah.
Some dude on the street can't just come up and tell me I'm living wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's not going to do it for me. But
Yeah.
somebody that, I have trust and build relationship with and stuff like that, it's a little different. But it really is having those tough conversations, being able to hear the stuff you don't want to hear.
Yeah.
Not sugarcoat. You know what I mean? Accountability is a tough one, man. Because even me, I like the idea of accountability. And then the conversation happens, and I'm like, first of all, who do you think you're talking to, bro? Back up.
Yeah.
So I think accountability is always a tough one.
Yeah. And it always sounds like an attack, but it isn't.
Right.
It isn't. I guess it really depends on the lens by which you're viewing from.
Yes.
Because I know for me, earlier in my walk, bro, I didn't even know what accountability was. Like, I refused to even accept the idea of accountability, let alone like knowing what it was. And then on top of when anyone would try to hold me accountable, it was almost like a personal attack. Like, how dare you tell me that I'm doing this wrong?
Right.
Or I'm living in error.
You're
or
so judgmental.
Yeah.
Right.
And that was the thing too.
Only God can judge me.
Exactly.
Like,
and then that was the next part, because then coming into grace and understanding what grace is, and just learning that whole process. Then I went to the extreme side of things where you can live however the hell you wanted to,
Right.
without any type of accountability, without any type of anyone just coming down and saying, "Hey, dude, wake up. This is not what you should be doing."
Yeah.
I didn't want to hear that,
Right.
right? I wanted, truthfully, I wanted people around me who were just going to kind of like sugarcoat me and kind of like pat me on the back and say, "Oh, you're fine. You're good.
Right.
You're great." You know? And thankfully, that didn't, I mean, for the most part, I didn't have people around me that did that. For the most part, I had people around me that were trying to talk me out of things, but obviously, I was in my knucklehead stage, so I didn't really take heed to what was being said. But
We all have the stage, man.
yeah,
I mean, it's all there. I mean, there was an accountability thing one time with me when I was younger that where where was I? I was having a party. I was at a party
yeah,
at somebody's house. I
yeah,
don't want to name their house.
yeah.
I was having a party at their house. I was in an Ignite shirt
Nice.
and I had a gallon of Captain Morgan, and I took a picture. I posted it on Facebook.
Yeah,
And you called me and you were like, "What the heck is wrong with you,
yeah,
dude?"
yeah,
Listen, you were like, at the very least, should you be doing that? No. At the very least, don't post it,
don't
dude.
post
Like at the
Yeah,
bare minimum. And
yeah,
I'm sitting here like, who are you talking to?
yeah,
You
yeah,
know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
who are you to tell me I can't do this?
yeah, yeah,
Again, your first understanding grace, you're like, you can't judge me. Like, I'm
yeah,
good. You know,
yeah,
his blood covered all of that. You
yeah,
know what I mean? Like the very surface level understanding of
yeah,
grace, the immaturity of me came out. But I look back at that like all the time, and even now, I'm
yeah,
like, I needed that
yeah,
conversation because not only did I make myself look bad, making the church look
yeah,
bad. You know what I mean? Like it just that's the kind of accountability you need,
yeah,
though.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
And little did you know that, like, before me sending or calling you, I was fighting myself because I'm like, man, I am the wrong person that should be saying anything because my
right,
life was a mess at the time. So, like, I'm like, dang, bro, I have to have this conversation because obviously at that time I was leading the ministry. So I was like, all right, cool. Let me have this conversation. But then right before, I'm like, dang, I really look like a hypocrite, bro, because
right,
my life is just reckless right now. And it wasn't like it was secret. Everyone knew,
right.
right? So I was like, man, that was a struggle. But yeah, dude, accountability is something.
That's another one too, because I think, at least for me, I tried to almost surround myself with people that I knew were doing messed up stuff too.
Yeah,
So that way it was like, well, if you're gonna call me out on my
yeah,
stuff, then
yeah,
I'm gonna call
yeah,
you out on your stuff. You know what I mean? Like you're
yeah,
not about to sit here and tell me I shouldn't be drinking when you're doing X, Y, and Z. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
So you kind of surround yourself with people like that as a safeguard
yeah, yeah, yeah,
to be like, you can't talk to me because you're doing this too. I don't know. It's accountability needs maturity.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
And if you don't have it, it'll get you there.
yeah,
Like accountability will get you there.
yeah.
But
It took me a while to really be, I guess, embrace the idea of accountability. Um, I learned, well, I started embracing it when I started getting close to a pastor friend of mine. I'll leave him nameless, but he he was really speaking life into me. But it was funny because he would schedule like weekly talks with me. And these talks weren't just like 5 minutes, bro. Like these talks were like an hour or something. Like I don't even know what the heck I'm gonna talk to you for an hour or something. You know what I'm saying? So like I'm thinking to myself, I mean, damn. Like the first time we were on the phone and I'm looking at the time, I'm like, damn, we're on this call for a long time. But he's asking me like questions like interrogating my whole life. Um and at the time I didn't really understand. So I would get off the phone and I would call up another friend of mine. I'm like, yo, like this guy was like drilling into my life. Like and I don't even understand why. Right. And after like I guess weeks and months of doing that, I started understanding like, all right, this guy's literally calling me to a higher standard. It wasn't because he wanted to nitpick at everything.
right,
First off, he was a lot older than I am. So he was literally just saying, hey, listen, dude, I've been there, done that. I can relate to a lot of what you're saying. I've been through half the things you said, or maybe more than half the things that you've been through. Um, and without this portion of your life, you're always gonna be running in circles. And dude, he took me by the hand, and I was able to really embrace the idea of being held accountable, and I love it now. Like now, it's obviously you still don't want to have those awkward
Right.
conversations, right? I don't think anyone wants to
Nobody
sit there and have.
enjoys them. No.
Yeah, it's not. It's not. It's definitely not something that you enjoy. But like when you look at the bigger picture, it's needed,
Yeah.
right? And I remember a lot of those conversations, and they would they would be so messy to start, because then he would ask me, like I would tell him something that I was doing that week, and he'd be like, "Why?" I'm like, I don't know. I didn't ask myself. I didn't get that far. Like I was just
Because I want to.
yeah. And then at the time, I was also dating a girl, and he would like drill into me. He's like, "So why are you dating her?" I'm like, "Wait a minute, are you her dad? Like,
Right.
what's happening with you?" And he's like, "No, I'm just saying you gotta do this, you gotta do that, you gotta do this." And I'm like, "All right, I guess."
Cool,
You know,
man.
and you know, uh, little by little, again, I started just, I guess, understanding what it was that he was doing and everything like that. But yeah, man, accountability is actually something that it's actually another thing that I feel like the church doesn't talk about enough either.
Yeah.
Because I think we got into a season, and you can obviously interject if you disagree. I felt like we got into a season of church where there was a period in time where it was like fire and brimstone preaching. Everywhere you looked, it was like, do this, and if you don't, you're going to hell type deal. Or if you die today, are you going to meet your maker? Right?
Don't make me say it.
Yeah.
You walk out of here right now.
Or now, like, well, the difference now is now we have the culture of grace, right? So then I feel like we've gone to the other extreme where it's just like everything's okay. Just live your life, and don't worry about it. You're forgiven. That's cool. You just murdered somebody. That's great. Just don't worry about it. It's cool. Even if you do it again, you're good. You're covered.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's no like. I feel like we don't hold tension in the middle where it's just like, no, we're not going to send you to hell. No, we're not going to give you behavior modifications.
Modification, yeah.
But at the same time, not everything's okay.
I think a big part of that is a lack of understanding for what we were created for.
Mm-hmm.
In the sense that everybody, churches all over the place, their end game goal is to get to heaven.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's not humanity's end goal, though.
Yeah.
Humanity was put on earth for a reason, to rule and have dominion here and things like that when creation happened. If you actually read Revelation,
Yeah.
the rapture happens, we go up to heaven, whatever. We get put back down here.
Yeah.
We get brought back down to a new earth.
Yeah.
Our job and our final destination is not to stay in heaven for eternity. Our destination is to have heaven here on earth.
Yeah.
So nobody's teaching people how to live like heaven on earth.
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah,
mean?
Yeah.
I think that's that call to a higher standard. The call for accountability and all of that is like, holiness is not legalism, right?
Yeah.
And the grace preaching is truth, 100% truth. But again, it's one extreme versus the next.
Yeah.
Like there is a call for holiness. We're called to live holy and righteous lives. We just don't have the power to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's where the fire and brimstone is. It's our responsibility to live holy and righteous lives. You swing to this side and it's like, well, you don't even need to because you are righteous. And it's like, no, I am righteous. So I need to start living that way. I need the Lord to show me how to do that.
Yeah.
Heal what you need to, change what you need to. That Psalm, was it 37, 33, 35? I don't know. I mix up the chapter every time.
Yeah.
But we had talked about it recently. The delight in the Lord and he will give you the desires of your heart.
Yeah.
It's not saying whatever you ask for, he's going to hand you. But rather he becomes the reason you're asking for what you're asking for. He takes the desire and he places it on the inside of you. So the more you delight in him, the more your heart begins to delight and strive positive striving for a life of holiness and righteousness and to be with him and to be in communion with him.
Yeah.
So I think that that's like the real not understand. Everybody just wants to get to heaven,
Yeah,
and so then once they hear grace, they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna get to heaven." It's like,
Yeah,
all right,
yeah,
cool.
yeah,
What are you gonna do after that?
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
we're called to have heaven on earth. The
Yeah.
disciples asked Jesus how to pray, and he's, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done
Yeah.
on earth
Mm-hmm.
as it is in heaven.
Yeah.
So I think, grace is the beginning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Grace is all right, now I don't have to do all this work to get God to notice me, to get God to love me and to forgive me and, give me his strength and whatever.
Yeah.
So I don't have to do all of that. I can come boldly to his throne and be empowered to live the way that he has called me to live and so on and so forth. So that's what I feel like, that the whole pendulum thing is just a lack of understanding there. We get stuck all the way on one side. It's like, no, just be right in the middle.
Yeah. And that makes sense because I feel like that could also be why we get caught up on the salvation argument.
Right.
Where it's just like for decades we've been arguing about saved, once saved, always saved, or is this person going to heaven or this person going to hell? And I feel like we get caught up in that, and it's like, dude, like, all right, fine, I get it. If you're curious, cool, great.
Right.
If it's out of curiosity, I understand. But the fact that we're years later down the line and we're still talking about salvation, it's like, bro, there's deeper things.
Dude, I've seen people like go getting full on arguments about whether Judas went to heaven or not, and I'm like, that's Judas's problem. That's not my problem. You know what I mean?
If I see him, I see him.
Right.
Cool.
If I see him, I'm not even gonna notice.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I'm
yeah,
gonna be
yeah.
so caught up in the Lord and whatever.
Yeah.
Like I don't even care. That's up to him. But what does that matter?
Yeah.
Right? Like in the grand scheme of my relationship with God, what does Judas's yes or no into heaven have to do with me at all?
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, bro, I'm sick of those conversations, bro. I'm sick of them. I had one recently, and I had to tell someone, I'm like, yo, I don't even want to talk about this with you anymore. Like, I really don't. And it's not that I'm trying to be rude. It's just like, I just feel like I'm talking and like walking circles, because it's like, oh yeah, well, if you're saved, that if this person's saved, that means this person can't be saved, and then that means, okay, all right, can I worry about my own life?
Right.
Can I worry about like what's happening in my own life? I have way too many things to be worrying about right now than to be worrying about whether or not Judas, like you said, or so and so made heaven, or so and so didn't. It's like, all right, cool, great. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, bro.
I don't care, man.
Don't
like, I'm
care.
okay. There was a friend who had a podcast, for a while that was a lot of questioning Christianity and all that kind of stuff. And a friend of mine asked me if I would go on it, and I'm like, they would hate me as a guest.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Why?" I'm like, "Because I don't care. I'm okay if they think I'm wrong."
Yeah.
I'm not really in the business of convincing you you're wrong or convincing you I'm right.
Yeah.
I'm okay knowing what I know. I'm also okay not knowing what I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm okay.
Yeah.
Either way, you know what I mean? My relationship with God, my family's relationship with God, that is full priority for me. Making sure my kids are raised in, a godly household. They have their own relationship with God. That is my worry.
Yeah.
Convincing you of something, not necessarily my worry at all.
Yeah. I was actually having a conversation with a friend probably about I'd say like 3 or 4 months ago. And it wasn't, I want to say debate, but it wasn't a debate because it would have taken both of us debating for it to be a debate, and I wasn't debating. Right. So, but it was like more so like of a conversation where this person is like very caught up in knowing all things, like knowing all things scripture, why God did this, why God did that, why God says this, why God says that, why did he contradict himself here? And I'm like, bro, like, I'm okay with not knowing.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, there's scripture to back that up, where no mind knows the thoughts or mind of the Lord, or there's plenty of scriptures.
His ways
are not
our ways. His
our ways.
Yeah, our thoughts.
All that stuff. So it's just like, I don't care. I don't care, and it's not to be rude, but it's like, I'm okay with not knowing, right?
Yeah.
And I think that affects our livelihood too, where we have to know every single detail. I know I was like that at one point where I needed to know every single thing in advance for me to operate, right? And I found that to be a sense of control.
Yeah.
Where I feel like
Absolutely.
if I at least know what's happening next, then at least have some sort of control. I may not have control of the outcome, but I have control of how I go into it,
Yeah.
right? And it kind of gave me like a sense of security, but it also kind of like handicapped me because then at the same time, if I didn't know, I wouldn't take the next step.
Right.
So it was just like a lot of things I felt like I left in limbo just because I didn't know or I wasn't secure in a specific area. So I would be like, because I don't know, I'm just not going to take the step.
Right.
I'll just stay right here because I know this area. I don't know what's on that other side.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, even from like the scriptural side, though, I almost feel like you want to know everything that has to do with scripture. God is contradicting himself and all this other stuff. And it's like, all right, cool.
mm-hmm.
So then, what do you believe in? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
where's your belief lying?
Yeah.
Because I feel like, from the gist of it, you have less foundation in your faith than I do in mine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At least, again, I'm not interested in convincing people Jesus was real. God, his kindness leads to repentance. So my job is just to show you as much of his kindness as I can, and he can take care of the rest.
Yeah.
However, if you're like really that bent on proving that Christianity is crap and like the Bible's not real and God is contradicting himself and he's this and he's that, all right, cool.
Yeah.
What do you believe in that is so rock solid?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There are theologians, scholars, people have put millions and millions of dollars into proving that the Bible doesn't exist, only to prove that it does exist.
Yeah.
Only to prove that all of these things actually happen.
Yeah.
You can find Noah's Ark, you can find Jesus' tomb. These are actual places in history. So just what do you believe in that is so rock solid?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm just curious.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a curious guy, but I am totally okay not knowing answers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's all right.
I've gotten to that point where it's just like, to be honest, I saw a meme the other day. I posted on social. It was funny. That said, I'm at the point in my life where even if you said 2 + 2 is 5, I'm like, okay, bro.
Yeah, cool with that. That's
good.
fine.
Cool, great. I'm good. I don't want to argue.
Right.
I don't want to argue about anything. I'm good,
bro. And that's polar opposites of where we started, though.
Of course, yeah.
Because I don't know if you remember.
Yeah.
You have to remember when Ignite Revolution first started, right? And we first got the revelation of grace and understanding, bro. We were like the ultimate social media warriors on all of this thing.
Yeah.
Like, we were fighting everybody on Facebook, everybody on Instagram. I was looking for anybody. You post that? Nah, I got you, dog. I got this.
Yeah.
So, but now it's just funny how, like, after all this time, we're like, you know what? Believe what you want, man.
Yeah,
I don't even care. I don't even care anymore.
And I've applied that same mentality when it comes to politics. So everyone has their political beliefs, and I get it, and I am for you having your own political beliefs. But then when it gets to a point where you're forcing your political beliefs on someone else, it just drives me crazy. So there was a point in time where I bit into it, and somebody would say something or post something, and I'm like, I'm going off. And now I've learned, man, like, you know what? I feel more at peace not getting into any forms.
Listen, I'm okay. First of all, when it comes to politics, bro, you vote for whoever you want to vote for. Believe what you want to believe. Yeah. For me, that has no bearing on friendship, relationship, communication, anything, man. I don't understand people who can cut people entirely out of their lives just because they vote a different way than them, or now, you know, certain things or whatever that are maybe staples in your life or whatever, you know, fine. But literally just over the red, blue, or you know what I mean? I don't understand how we could just fully cut people out and like start hating on people. Just let them live, man.
Yeah.
Let them live. You worry about you.
Yeah.
Everything will be okay. You will be much happier in life. worrying about you, worrying about your family. Like, we're okay, man. You can believe what you want, you can love what you want, and that you have fun.
Bro, for a period of time, I was attending a church that was like so politically involved. It drove me nuts, bro. Because you would go on Sunday thinking that you're gonna get fed the word, and it was nothing but like you might as well just had a rally for this particular party, right? Um, and it was just annoying, man. It got to the point where I was sitting service, and I'm like, I guess I'm learning politics today.
Right.
Like we're not opening
I didn't
scripture.
know this was a political studies Sunday.
Yeah.
All right.
It just got annoying, man. So, and hey, if any of your churches do that, fine. It's just not my cup of tea.
No, it's not fine.
Yeah, well, it's not fine. It shouldn't be fine, and you should leave. No,
Just kidding.
no, I'm joking.
Do what you want, man.
Yeah, do what you want, respectfully. But yeah, it would drive me crazy, man. Like, cause I'm like, man, dude, like we don't have to. If you preach the word of God, it'll give people the ability to one. I feel like let me backtrack. I feel like sometimes we get so caught up in playing the role of God, trying to convince people to live a certain way, not realizing that not even God himself does that. God just reveals to you his truth.
Right.
And he gives you the choice.
Yeah.
You know, and our whole life, our whole walk in the Lord, this whole journey, it really hinges on choice. You can either choose him,
Yeah.
or you don't. You can either love him or you don't. You can serve him or you don't. It's that simple. He would prefer for you to serve him. He would prefer for you to love him. But at the same time, if you don't, you don't. I mean, yes, there are consequences to that, right? But I feel like we get so caught up in the role of saying, oh, no, well, you better.
Right.
You have to.
Right.
And then it just comes off.
You, as a Christian, that it's like, wait, well, hold on.
Yeah, yeah,
Everybody
yeah.
simmer down. Okay.
Yeah.
You say you love people. You say this. You say, well, everybody, calm down. Okay. Leave me and my relationship with God out of it. Okay. Let me have my relationship with the Lord. You just everybody makes these decisions and stuff on their own convictions. Mm-hmm. You have your own convictions between you and the Lord. That's not my business.
Yeah.
Do what you want.
Yeah. I feel like if we just gave people the word of God, and we just preached his truth, his grace, obviously, I think we'd be in a better place, dude. Just preaching a way of life where it's like, all right, this is the way that God designed for us to live in. Here, it's up to you. Yeah, he's not going to force you to.
Absolutely.
If not, he would have created robots, and obviously we're not robots. Although we do have AI that exists now, so it's a whole different world.
Don't even get me started. AI, first of all, is incredible.
It is.
Not the actual robots.
And it's scary.
The ChatGPT stuff is like, I go to ChatGPT for any question I have. I go right there.
Yeah, it's scary. I mean, is it a she?
I don't know.
Do they consider
Are we really
a she?
about to do this
because
gender thing on a computer?
I feel like anytime I use ChatGPT, this is going to sound
Siri.
This is going to sound sexist.
Oh, God.
But it sounds like I'm talking to a woman, or it feels like I'm talking to a woman.
But
the way it greets me, that's not how a man would greet me.
It's a computer, bro.
I know, but it just feels.
There's way too many. You know what it is? Siri has a woman's voice.
That's
There's
true.
way too many movies with like AI and computers where it's all done by a woman's voice.
That's true.
I think a woman's voice is more soothing or something like that. Whatever it is.
Yeah.
So that's your assumption. I have never once even thought about it.
I don't know. It just feels like whenever I ask ChatGPT something, it just feels like a woman's talking to me. And I'm like, girl, like, first off, I've caught it on some. There's been times where I've caught it with inaccuracies. So then I'll ask a question, and be like, "Is that really true?" She's like, "Oh, actually, no, it's not." I'm like, "Why would you tell me something that's not true?" My apologies. I'm like, "Oh, okay, thanks."
No, take back your apology.
Yeah, don't tell me what's not true.
Misinform me.
Yeah,
that's funny.
So I have another question here. And yes, we wrote down some notes because we have a lot that we want to get into. What's one area of your life that you feel like God is currently either growing you in or challenging you in?
Oh man, I think I think we touched on it a little bit, but confidence in my gifting and my calling.
Yeah.
You know, that's I feel like the call to and the gifting to lead worship has been worked on for so many years. You know, being able to learn, you know, under you for so long, and I was with Resting Place for so many years as well. So learning under all the incredible worship leaders that they have there.
Yeah.
I feel like that gifting I feel rock solid in. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like extremely confident in that. Um, but other giftings that the Lord has given me, I need to kind of gain some confidence. I actually spoke about them this morning a little
Yeah.
bit at church. You know, prophetic things, deliverance type things, like those types of giftings that I know are in there. But I gotta figure something out with this fear, man, because
Yeah.
you know, it's tough. So I feel like that's kind of what God is working on
Is
now.
it fear of being wrong or off, or is it fear of you feeling like you're not called to do that specific thing?
Um, there's a fear of disqualification,
Okay.
right? I don't feel like I'm qualified to do it.
Okay.
So that's half of it,
Hmm.
right? So you almost feel like you're not called to it because you feel disqualified, inadequate
Yeah.
in that particular area. But the fear of being wrong is totally there,
Yeah. Yeah.
bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
I cannot believe that there is any prophet that is not afraid to be wrong. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I could be totally wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying that I know the ins and outs of every prophet. I could be totally
Yeah.
wrong. But there has to be like a little inkling in the back of your mind that's like, I really hope I'm not
Yeah.
wrong
Yeah.
about this.
No, yeah, I
So
I can relate because there's been times that I felt like God was impressing something on me to tell someone, and because I was fearful of being wrong, I would caveat it. So I would tell them like, I'm just getting this feeling. I'm not sure if it's God or not. Maybe it is, maybe it's
I don't
not.
know if it's God, right?
But if I'm gonna say it's not, I'm just gonna say it's just a feeling. But someone, A, B, and C. But I've done that before because it's like I feel like, man, what if I'm telling them something and it's just like I'm saying, hey, God's calling you to be a painter. My guy, I'm an NBA player. No,
Bro, I don't even have hands.
yeah,
That's
that's what I'm saying. Like, so I'm like, man, I've struggled in that area too, and I for that reason, um, I've also arrived at a place where I don't like giving prophecy.
yeah.
I hate it.
Yeah, but like, especially, bro, if you have the gifting, right?
Yeah,
Like you have to use it at
yeah,
some
yeah,
point.
yeah.
And that's like that tension is like, I know I got to use it,
Yeah.
but I don't know, man, it's just nerve-wracking. And what's crazy is like sometimes we'll be praying over people as a group, right?
Yeah.
There'll be like maybe 3 of us praying,
Yeah.
and I'm getting like this word on my heart
Yeah.
that I need to start praying into and whatever for them. And I'm like, I'm just not going to do it. And then one of the people praying with us starts praying into that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay, so that was God.
Yeah.
And I had gotten to the point where that's happened so many times that God
Yeah,
was
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
how many more confirmations
Yeah,
do
yeah,
you
yeah,
need,
yeah,
bro?
yeah.
So eventually, I got to just get out and do it. And I mean, you have a prophetic gift as well, especially in the atmosphere of worship, man. I remember one Friday worship night. You were leading. I think I was like prayer leading that night or something like that. But I think I came up quickly, said something. I came down. You were going in, and you felt this urge from the Lord to pray into suicidal thoughts and something like that,
Remember that.
dude. And something in my spirit like shifted, and it wasn't something I was struggling with, but it was like, oh, that is exactly where we need to be right now. And there were a couple people that were out there that ended up testifying to either pastor, to Sulma, myself, whoever it was, or maybe even to you, that was something that they were considering earlier in the week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's something that they were struggling with. So especially like in worship, you have the prophetic gifting. It is that fear of like,
Yeah, I remember that
Man,
day because
I
I
don't want to do it.
remember that I remember saying what I said. I don't remember exactly what I said, but I do remember saying what I said. But then I also remember saying, I don't usually do this, and I hate doing
Yep.
this. Um, and I said whatever I said, and then if it did feel like the atmosphere changed, and then I saw someone just was wrecked.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, so at least God, that didn't hit a wall because that could have gone very bad.
Absolutely. Dude, and then, I mean, I have friends that are like, prophetically, they'll say to do the craziest stuff and they just don't even think about it. They're
Yeah.
like, yeah, no, let's do. There was one Sunday I had a friend of mine come to lead worship. This was maybe like 2 or 3 years ago. He came to lead worship at Ignite,
Yeah.
and he felt something prophetically in the moment.
Yeah.
It was along the same vein
Yeah.
of like, depression, anxiety, taking their own life and whatever. He felt it in the middle of worship, stopped worship, called them up to the front,
Yeah.
and started praying in the middle of worship. It was the first time he's ever come to our church,
That's
dude.
hilarious.
And then started singing like, I've got joy, I've got the joy, I've got the joy. Like
Yeah.
just like this joy song. And I'm like, the confidence in your prophetic gifting to be able to halt an entire service of a church you've been to for the very first time that you were brought just to lead worship. Not to preach, not to do anything. Nope. And the confidence that you had in your gifting to do that, I want to get there one day.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
I just do something radical.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
okay with just doing something radical.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't gotten there yet. I definitely haven't gotten there yet either. Like I'm definitely afraid of giving those prophetic words, especially when it's something radical on that aspect of things, where it's like, man, this could definitely, because that's what I start thinking of. I think miles ahead. So I'm like, if this is wrong, this could go so bad,
Right.
and I don't want to feel awkward.
How do I get out of here?
Yeah.
If
Where's
this is
the
wrong,
exit?
where do I go?
Yeah, because I will just walk off. I'm just going home. And hey, Anthony's gone for a month. Yeah, because he's still recovering from giving something false on stage.
Oh, man.
What's one advice, or what's a piece of advice that you would give your younger you?
Everybody's just figuring it out. Everybody's just trying to figure it out.
Got it.
Because I think younger me, especially younger me, thought that like adults and people that were older or in certain positions should have had all of this stuff figured out by now.
Yeah.
So then almost like everything that they did was intentional. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And it's like, no, they were just trying to figure it out too.
Yeah.
Especially parenthood. Oh
Yeah.
my God, bro. You're just trying to figure it out,
Jesus
man.
Lord.
I don't know. I'm 8 years into this. I still have no idea what the heck I'm doing.
Yeah.
So it even helped my relationship with my mom, because I'm like, all this stuff, Mom, you should have figured all this out, whatever. And it's like, oh, okay, you were just as clueless as I was. This is great.
Yeah. That's how I feel too. Like there's a lot of things that I think of today, and I'm like, man, I'm figuring it out, and yeah, so are my parents. Everyone, like we all are. That's so true. We all are trying to figure it out.
And nobody's doing stuff on purpose, man. Like
No.
Everybody, what they're doing, they totally think is right. I think back, when I was younger at the old church. Man, I don't feel like I was treated all that great, and some of it I brought upon myself. 100%, I was not phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I held a lot of resentment and bitterness towards a lot of people over there. And then, just growing with the Lord, I'm like, they were just figuring it out too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how old you are. You don't know how to be that age.
Yeah,
This is the first time you're 25. This is the first time you're 40. First time you're 60. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like everybody's just trying to figure it out. You got to have some grace for people. And I truly, truly believe nobody is really intentionally out to like hurt you. You know what I mean? Maybe there are some real jerks out there.
Yeah.
For the most part, man, younger me just needs to learn, because I feel like a lot of bitterness that I had growing up could have been avoided if I knew that. Like if I truly understood that everybody's just figuring it out, everybody's just trying to do a good job, trying to do the right thing, what they think is right. You know, nobody's intentionally doing stuff. I feel like that I could have avoided a lot of like bitterness and resentment towards a lot of people growing up.
Yeah, that's good. So to wrap this up, I have one last question. This is a random one,
Okay,
but
all right, all right.
this is gonna be. I think this is fun. I think it's pretty cool.
Oh boy.
So if you had, if your life was summed up in a soundtrack,
Oh god.
what three songs would be part of this soundtrack?
Well, I'll be super churchy first, right? On the altar
Okay.
is like it's an upper room song. Um, the chorus says, "I will live on the altar." The bridge says, "I want to be the oil. I want to be the sacrifice. I want to be a laid down lover all my life."
Yeah.
That song for me like sums up everything that I want to do with my
Yeah.
life at this point. I just want to worship and be with the Lord and be in His presence. Now, we don't have to get so churchy
Yeah.
now. Lose Yourself by Eminem. I have to have an Eminem song on there
Yeah.
because I swore I was Eminem growing up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So Lose Yourself, I think, would be a good one. And then maybe like Life is a Highway,
Yeah.
something like that. Old Rascal Flats in
yeah.
there, some cars.
Yeah.
Life is a highway.
Yeah.
We'll edit
Yeah.
that part out, but
Yeah.
I think that'd be a good one, man. It's like yeah. What do you got? What do you
That's
got?
hilarious.
I've
me-
never thought about it before.
For me, dang. For me, I think earlier in my younger years, it would be "Can't Tell Me Nothing" by Kanye West because I felt like no one could tell me anything,
I
and
love
that
that
I
song.
lived by that motto. It's like, no, you can't tell me nothing. Then I moved up a bit, I guess, and then I landed on thinking that I arrived. So I think I would do "Started from the Bottom" by Drake because I thought
Oh, good
I thought I
Lord.
made it. At some point, I did think I made it. And then we went churchy, and then we'll land on "Move Your Heart."
Oh, Move Your Heart.
Um,
Jeez, I love that song.
because I love that song. I mean, I think Dante wrote it, but either Dante.
I think it was a collective of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I love that song. I just love the story behind it. I like the wording for behind it. Just you know, wanting to move the heart of the Lord, but
Yeah.
also at the end of the song, you realize that what moves the heart of the Lord is us. Right. So it's just like, man, that's beautiful. So those are the three songs. We went super I guess, unsaved into super churchy.
Absolutely. That's the way we start, right?
Yeah.
We got to have a church one on there, you know. But I think "Move Your Heart," like I love that one. That's one of my favorite songs, still to this day.
"Move Your Heart" is a beautiful
Yeah.
song.
That whole bridge is just like, God, whatever you want.
Yeah.
Right? Like I just, whatever you want, just take it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's a beautiful song. But that is funny. That your three were funny, pretty funny. I was gonna put "I Believe I Can Fly" on there because at one point I thought, or I really wanted to fly, which is why
That's a good one, I guess.
yeah.
You
But then I'm
can
like,
do it.
yeah, whatever.
That's
But
funny.
anyway, I'm glad that you came out
Yeah,
and
man.
did this
Thank
thing.
you. Thank you for inviting me.
It's been I think this was a much needed conversation, and it also gives insight for everyone else to kind of like get a deeper look at who you are, understanding of how your mind works and everything like that, and just hear your story. I think your story is obviously we get to hear it on Sundays and everything like that, and people closest to you get to hear it. But I feel like your story should be put out there, and not like I have millions of followers here, but I feel like the more it gets out, I think you'll be able to impact more people because I think your story is very compelling, and I think it's powerful. Just to watch, like I said, we've known each other for years, so just to watch you go from someone who was very mischievous
That's a nice way to put it, bro.
Yeah,
That is very kind of you.
mischievous to then becoming, someone who is actively involved in ministry, and then just, becoming a close friend of mine, and then also getting into fatherhood and being married, and then just seeing this side of the story. It's just been amazing. It's been fun to watch, and I'm sure that um, I believe God's only just scratching the surface with what He has for you. So I really believe that you're gonna be used to impact a lot of people, and you already have. And sometimes I think we lose track of that, right? Because I think
Absolutely.
sometimes I think with social media being what it is, and seeing like people around us, sometimes we're like, oh well, there's no way that I'm impacting lives, because then you see somebody else's highlight reel, and you see that they're so and so, and it's just like, oh well, they're definitely reaching
Right.
lives. But I believe we also impact lives with
Absolutely.
what we do and everything like that. So yeah, I really love that you were able to share your story here, and just give us an opportunity to just get to know you. But for those watching, I want to thank you for tuning in yet again. We're going to continue doing these things, and we're going to definitely have Mike back. We'll get more into in depth with maybe music, and maybe we can probably talk about like sermons, how you breaking down
Oh
sermons and stuff
yeah.
like that, how you prep for that.
Bro, we could get into like some songwriting that
Songwriting.
we've done. Man, that'd be a good time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think this will be great. We're gonna continue, doing different things. We're gonna continue moving forward with this. You'll see more people, new faces, and everything like that. So we'll see where this thing heads and where this thing lands. But for now, again, thank you for watching. If you haven't yet, go ahead and hit the subscribe button.
Subscribe.
Share on your socials, and till next time. Love y'all.